So, Harmy, Mohammed Shami never made it for the Border Gavaskar Trophy in Australia, but he does return to the Indian side for the five T20s against England. But there's no Jasprit Bumrah, Rishabh Pant, Yashasvi Jaiswal, and Shubman Gill. They're all rested or otherwise not involved. We haven't had word of any injuries there. But then you think that's four big names missing. But you look at who is in the squad: Sanju Samson, Tilak Varma, the two leg spinners, Ravi Bishnoi and Varun Chakravarti. They all had a massive impact in the four match T20 series they played against South Africa a couple of months ago. Arshdeep Singh's another T20 specialist, the left arm seam. It's a very, very good team. And yet again, it just there's a lot of depth in Indian cricket, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of depth in their white ball cricket. Questions will come when the red ball team comes to India and to England, and how much depth is in the red ball team. But the white ball team, because of the IPL and the way the boys play over there in that competition, I mean, it's common sense that there's going to be a lot of players putting their hands up, ready for the IPL. You know, get themselves in position to strike while they're hot in that first game when the IPL does start. And then this will be not a warm up because it's international cricket, but it'll be as close as they'll get to the IPL atmosphere without actually being in the big competition. And the young players that have been given a chance, and it is a relatively young side, but it's an energetic side. I mean, it's got bags of talent. It really has. And it looks as though it's a well balanced side with sort of Hardik Pandya in the middle, just holding it all together from an all-rounders point of view. So as much as they're not household names yet, they are very, very good players, and I still make them favourites. Even though England have got a good, strong squad out, still make India favourites in their own back garden.
Rinku Singh is another one that comes to my Axar Patel. They've got three spinners. Dhruv Jurel really impressed you, didn't he, during the Test series at the beginning of the year? It's a very, very good. Surya Kumar Yadav, Sky.
He's captain, it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's two. I think Suresh Iyer, who I think Paditar and Iyer have done really well in domestic. Looking at the numbers, and I'm not seeing any of it, but looking at their numbers, and Suresh Iyer has had a decent domestic T20 competition. So has Paditar, and I thought they might have been in where they're more familiar names to people from the outside. But obviously their performances weren't good enough because, like you said, some of these players have performed very, very well in that four match series in South Africa, and they're going to be given their chance. It is, and you look at Bumrah, Pant, Jaiswal, Gill will all be in the team in a year's time when they go to the T20 World Cup. So they're probably the only four from the sort of more established players that are probably guaranteed a spot, and everybody else is fighting to sort of make them 15 numbers up. So they'll be right at it and wanting to beat England, because that's a huge scout. Josh Butler's team, a lot of England players who are out there have got IPL experience as well. Salt's played in the IPL. The likes of Brook, Bethel's going, Liam Livingston's been in, Archer. England have got a very, very, very strong squad, and also Mark Wood. They've all had IPL experience, so I'm expecting this to be a cracking series.
How many hours a week do you spend going through scorecards, Harmy? How much attention do you give the Big Bash and the Bangladesh Premier League and the ILT20 and the SA20? England have got players playing in all of them. I mean, you can waste a significant part of your life if you try and follow all of these competitions.
You can, and it's great. The competitions are great. You find yourself torn between what's best for Test cricket, what's best for the elite. For me, the elite part of the game, which is Test match cricket, finding ways and finding arguments and finding how best to preserve for me the greatest format of the game. But the other formats of the game, i.e. the franchise stuff, is brilliant for some of the players who will never play Test cricket. It will give them a chance to earn good money, a good life, set their families up. And the fine balance you have between following these competitions around the world, because there's millions of them and you don't know when they're going to be played, I think that is, if you had, and not adults in the room, but an adult in the room who had great leadership qualities to find windows for these tournaments to be played, then I think you'll get Test match cricket well looked after. But the IL-T20, I heard Graham Smith say it. I think he was talking to Nasser and others, and he said he didn't want to. It sounded. He says it's going to sound like I'm having a go at the IL-T20, but he wasn't. It was just that competition's dangerous for SA20, and for that's a tournament around the world that we shouldn't be having, because I think he was more or less saying, well, it's an international tournament. It's not a domestic tournament. And what we talk about a domestic tournament, like you mentioned last week, the European tournament with Scotland, Ireland, and the Netherlands, it's going to be mainly players based from them countries with a sprinkle of overseas players. And the ILT20 is the opposite. and I get what Graham's saying. I think he's right. I think he's 100% right on that it is an international tournament, and their tournaments, that's international. Them tournaments are ICC events. They're not domestic, for me, domestic events. So they're the ones that I think are in danger of harming the longer format of the game, not the SA20, not the Big Bash, not the 100 or the IPL. And I think an adult in the room with great leadership qualities will make sure that they don't happen, or they happen at such a time where it's going at the same time as the IPL. So then you've got, your bang average second grade players. They're the only ones that's playing it. So such a fine balance. But you're right. I do cover and see a lot of scorecards because I'm interested to see how a lot of them England players are playing.
The brilliant former New Zealand cricket chief executive, David White's now the chief executive of the ILT20, and he came out in defence of the league, and he pointed out, he said, don't forget how important this region is for global cricket. Whenever whenever a tournament needs to be moved or the IPL needs a new venue, then we're here. And he's right. He's absolutely right. But that's got nothing to do with the fact that they've got 8 overseas players per team, or 9 overseas players per team, and they've got 1 or 2 locals. Anyway, let's move on. Reminder that every single game on England's white ball tour of India is live and exclusive here on talkSPORT 2, ball by ball commentary. Harmy and I can't wait to get out to India once again for the ODI series.